I don't want to wait till the orange portion completes to start the magenta portion. Okay, so they're totally independent, which means that I can run them independently. I don't want to wait for anything else. So what I can do is this. There are multiple options. I can tell to the operating system to run these two codes independently. Okay, so run this portion, and so there's a portion 1 and portion 2 independently. Okay, now how will the operating system will try to run this? Okay, so I haven't put any code in this current Java program which is telling the operating system to run them independently. I'm just telling that it is possible to run this code independently. So when I say independent, it means that either the orange portion can be run in one processor and the magenta portion can be run in another processor, or either the orange portion can run for some time and then the magenta portion can run for another some time. So all these possible combinations are there. Okay, so what the processor does is like this. Processor have what the operating system does is something like this. Let's say I am going to name this two portion of the code. I'm going to give them names. So let's say this is called as A and this is called as B, this portion. So this portion is called as B and the other portion is called as A. So when I tell to the operating system that we can run these codes independently, what operating system does is it will run A for let's say 10 milliseconds. It will stop it. Then it will run B for another 10 milliseconds. It will stop it. Then it comes back to A and run for another 10 milliseconds. Stop it and comes back to B and run for 10 milliseconds till it gets completed. So you see that the code portion A will be run for 10 milliseconds. Code portion for B will be run for 10 milliseconds. Then come back to A, run for 10 milliseconds. Come back to B, run for 10 milliseconds. You see that in each of this run, A and B hasn't completed yet. Like it has not printed the values from 1 to 10 or 10 to 20 till A completes printing or B completes printing. So you see that actually these two codes are running in parallel. So first A runs for some time, then B runs, then A runs for again for some time, then B runs. So actually they are running in parallel. Okay. So you say that there are two threads in this program, which is A, another thread is B, and they are running in parallel. So this is I am saying about single processor system. That is there is one ALU. Okay. Now what happens if you have let's say core i3 processor has two cores, or if you look at i5 they have 4 cores. If it's i7 they have 4 to 8 cores, 4, 6 or 8 cores. Okay, so if you have multiple, so let's say this is i3 processor, which means there are 2 cores. One is core 1, another is core 2. So when I tell to the operating system that these 2 cores should be run parallelly or independently, what it does is it will run one thread in core 1 and the second thread in core 2. So A will run in core 1, B will run in core 2. And you see that both will complete at the same time, taking the exactly same amount of time to complete. Okay, this is called as parallel programming. But you should understand that this can happen only if there is an independency in the code. And we can say that A and B are called threads. Okay. So if you didn't make A and B threads, what will happen is first A will start running, it will complete the program, then only B will start running and it will complete the program. Let's say A takes 1 second to complete the program and B takes 1 second to complete the program. Then the total amount of time it will take to complete the program is 2 seconds. If there is no thread. If there is thread, since you are slicing this in a single processor system, if you are slicing this, then it is possible that it will take maybe a slightly less time than 2 seconds. It might be like 1.9 seconds. That's all. But if it is a multi-core system, then you see that it will take a total of 1 second to run both A and B at the same time. So you have reduced the running time from 2 seconds to 1 second, which is a half percentage reduction. So you have made the program faster. This is called as multi-threading. So multi-threading, multi-processing, multitasking, they are all, you can say, interrelated. So multitasking means you are actually telling, you are, for example, in your Windows operating system, you will be running your Chrome browser, you will be running your PDF Acrobat reader, you will be running your Microsoft Excel, you will be running your Microsoft Word. So all these are running at the same time, or you will be opening all these windows at the same time. So if you're opening all these windows at the same time, you are saying it is called as multitasking, where you say the first task is to run the Chrome, second task is to run the Word, third task is to run the Excel, fourth task is to run the PDF, the Acrobat Reader. So that's called as multitasking. Each of these tasks will have multiple processes. Okay, for example, if you are running your Chrome browser, if you are running a YouTube in your Chrome browser, then the YouTube is playing some video, which is actually a process. The YouTube might be displaying some animations at the, for example, the ads might be coming at the side. That is another process. So there are multiple processes in this, and each of these processes might have multiple threads. Okay, so that parallel execution in your system is called as threading, and if you are looking it in a bigger point of view, it is called as multiple task or process. Okay, so this is called as threading. Like you are dividing your program to, so that you can execute multiple portions of your code parallelly. So how will you tell to the OS that you should do this parallelly? So here in this program, currently I haven't mentioned anything saying to the operating system that it should run parallelly. So how will you tell to the operating system that the orange code and the magenta code should run parallelly? For that, in Java, you have a separate class called as thread. If you implement in that class, then it is equivalent to telling to the operating system that these two programs should run parallelly. We will see an example of this, then you will understand. So I hope you have understood a basic knowledge of what a thread means. It is not simple. I have explained it in a layman point of view. The actual threading mechanism is very, very complicated. I have explained it just to make you understand what a thread means. That's all. There are a lot of states and everything will come into picture that we will see one by one. But this is what a thread means. So basically, a thread means you can run or can slice the program. If you look at this thing that I said, this is called as round robin. You might have studied in embedded systems, where you start a task or start a thread, you run for a fixed amount of time, stop it whether it has completed or not, and start the next thread. You run it for fixed amount of time, stop it whether it is completed or not, start the next thread, run for fixed amount of time, again stop it, and keep on doing this till all the threads has finished running. Okay. For example, in first 10 milliseconds, it might have printed till 1 comma 2. That's all. For B, it might have printed 19 comma, sorry, 10 comma 11. In the next 10 milliseconds, A might have printed 3 comma 4. And in the final, in next 10 milliseconds, B might have printed 12 comma 30. Okay. So you see that the program hasn't finished execution. It is still running. And when it completes, it will have, the A might have printed till 9 and B might have printed till 90. But it has finished the execution and then it will be taken away. Okay. But if you are looking at the i3 processor 2 cores, A will print 1 to up to 9 in a single run. B will print from 10 to 19 in a single run. This is called as threading. So I hope you got a small idea of what threading is. If you have any doubts, you can let me know now, because it is a bit of there were many questions in Java multi-threaded programming in the previous semesters. Anybody, any questions? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, let's go to the slides. I hope you can see my presentation. It says Java programming. Okay. So before going to this, let me show something else. I don't know whether you have seen this in your system, in your Windows machine, or if you're using Linux machine. So let me just share my entire screen. I show something. Okay, so you can. I hope you can see my screen. If you look at, if you right click your task bar, if you look at task manager, I hope you can see this. So you see that there is something called as process. There's a tab called as processes. Okay, so you can see the lot of process which is being run in your machine. Basically this is an application. There is each and every application is there. So I have multiple applications opened in my system. And if you go to the details, you can see each and every process in its executable state. Okay, so Brave is my browser, and you have PowerPoint which is being opened. There's an Explorer window which is being opened. So you can see a lot of process which is being run. So you see that although there is only one operating system, you are running this around hundreds of processes or tasks parallelly. This is called as parallel execution. Although there is, my system is, I think, Pentium, which means that I have only one core. Okay. Although there is only one core, you are running almost hundreds and thousands of tasks at the same time. That is because there is something called as a scheduling which is being happening in your operating system, where the operating system will allocate some amount of time for each process. So Brave will be given, let's say, 10 millisecond time to execute. PowerPoint will be given another 10 millisecond time to execute, and it will be slicing. It's called as time slicing, and it will go on do it. Okay, so each of the process will have multiple threads also, which it will be executed. Okay. So let's come to okay. I hope you can see my presentation. So we are going to discuss about multi-threaded programming. Before we dive into what a thread is, let's look at what is the difference between a process and a thread. So a task is you can say is an application, for example, Word. And the task can be divided into multiple processes, and the processes can be divided into multiple threads. So a process is a program, and processes can be divided into sub-processes or sub-programs. Multi-threading is a programming concept where the process is divided into two or more sub-processes which can be executed at the same time in parallel. So that is very important. In parallel at the same time. So as long as now, whatever Java program we have discussed has a single sequential flow control. It means that you execute the first line, go to the next line, then third, then fourth, then fifth. This is called a sequential flow. A thread is similar to the program that has a single flow control. So if you look at one thread, it is sequential. It is executing one line by line. But multiple threads can execute at the same time parallel. A thread has a beginning, a body, and an end, and executes commands sequentially. So it will execute one by one. So if you have only main program, that means you have only a single thread. So all this Java program, C++ programs that we have done till now is one single thread. There is not extra threads. Okay. Java enables us to use multiple flows of control in developing programs. Each flow of control may be thought of a separate tiny program known as thread that runs in parallel to others. Okay, so we're going to look at thread. So always there is something called as a main thread. For example, your main function will be in a thread called as a main thread. And from the main thread, you can start multiple threads, thread A, thread B, and thread C. Okay, you can from the main thread you call as spawn. You can spawn multiple threads A, B, and C, and the OS will execute one thread at a time. After executing for some time thread A, it will switch to thread B. It will execute thread B for some time, then it will switch to thread C. Now there are some conditions which should be satisfied if you want to switch back and forth. We'll see what this is. So this is an example. This is a comparison of difference between threading and tasking, multiple thread and multiple tasking. Okay, this has been asked in few of the final semester exams. Difference between threading and tasking. You should understand that thread is the smallest part of a program, or is a part of a sub process, and they are executed in parallel. But task is much more higher level concept, just like an application. It's an operating program concept. But threading is a programming concept, while tasking is an operating system concept. Okay, it supports execution of multiple parts of single program simultaneously, while tasking supports execution of multiple programs simultaneously. For example, in this case, you are executing the PDF reader, you are also looking at Microsoft Word, etc. Here, in the case of threading, you are looking at only the PDF viewer, but at the background, it is doing multiple programs execution. Processor has to switch between different parts threads of a program. The processor has to switch between different programs or processes. Threading is efficient while tasking is less efficient. Thread is the smallest unit in multi-threading, while a program or process is the smallest unit in multitasking. Threading helps in efficient programs, while tasking helps in efficient operating systems. This is cost effective in terms of context switching. So we have told about switching in thread. That's called as context switching. But it is expensive if you are switching in multitasking. Now, how will you create threads in Java? Now, threads are implemented in the form of objects that contain a method called run. So there's a class called as thread class, which is already implemented in Java. Your class can inherit the thread class and implement the run method. So whatever program that you're putting inside run will run as a new thread. Okay, so the run method makes up the entire body of the thread. Syntax is like this. And the run method must be invoked by an object of the concerned thread. So if you want to run a thread, you should invoke it using an object of the concerned thread. So this can be achieved by creating the thread and initiating it with help of another thread method called start. We'll see an example. So there are two ways of creating a new thread by using the thread class. As I said earlier, thread class is something which is already defined in Java. You need to inherit the class and implement the run method. There is another way by converting a class to a thread. This means that you are going to implement an interface called as runnable. Okay. By using this runnable interface and implementing the method of the runnable interface, which is called as run, you can create a thread. In the last class, we have studied about interfaces. And you know that in an interface, if you declare a function, that function should be defined in any class which has implemented it. So runnable is an in class or an interface which is being declared in the Java itself. So if you look at an example, there is class A, okay, and if you look at it, there is a extends thread instruction here, which means you are inheriting from the thread class. This thread class is being defined in the Java itself. You don't want to do anything else to implement that class. There is class B. This also is extending from thread class. There is class C, which also extends from thread class. So you have three different classes, A, B, and C, which is extending from the thread class. Then you have your class for your main function. Okay. Now class A extends from thread. Inside class A, you have defined the function run. Okay. So whatever you have put inside this function, which is this part, will run as a thread. It will run separately, independently of others. So here, this is just printing of numbers from 1 to 5 from thread A. If you look at class B, it has also implemented the same function and it has the body in which you are running to print the numbers from 1 to 5. But this is from thread B. If you look at class C, it has implemented thread or inherited from thread class. It has also implemented the run method. It is also printing the values from 1 to 5. But this is in class C. Now, although you have defined what to do in a thread, you need to first start the thread. If you want to start a program, you need to write the program and you should have a main function. Just like that, if you want to start running a thread, you need to start the thread. For that, first what you will do is you create an object of the class. For example, this is the object of class A. When you say new A, it is object of class A. Then you call the function start. So now whatever is inside this run function will run as a thread when you say start. When you say new b.start, it is basically saying you create an object of b and start the thread. Basically, it means that whatever you have implemented inside the run method of the b class will run as a thread. Next, you see new C and start. So here again, we'll create an object of C, and it will run whatever is there inside the run method implemented by the class C as a thread. All the three threads will run and print the values from 1 to 5. But let's look at what is happening. So in this, each of this class, you have this print statement. So first it says, if it is in class A, it says from thread A, print from thread A colon I is equal to value of I. If it is in thread B, from thread B, J is equal to. If it is from thread C, from thread C, K is equal to. So all this print statement will print. Now, if you look at the output, so this is the output that is being printed when you run that program. Although you are starting it one by one, so ideally first A should run completely, should print from thread A I is equal to 1, from thread A I is equal to 2, from thread A I is equal to 3, and so on. But instead of that, what is happening is it starts from thread B and prints J is equal to 1. Then it goes to thread A and prints I is equal to 1. Then it goes to thread C, then prints K is equal to 1. And then thread A, thread B, again thread A, thread C. And if you look at the execution, first A is finished, then B is finished, then C is finished. But the execution is not in a sequential order. It switches back and forth between threads A, B, and C. This is because you have put them in parallel, and the operating system is switching them between A, B, B, A, and back together. So this is the order of execution. Now, if you run this program again, you see that, so this is the older running, this is the new running. If you look at this, the running is totally different in the new program running. Although it starts similar, when it reaches here, you see that here thread C is K is equal to 3. And then thread C is K is equal to 4 only after exiting from A. But here you see after thread C K equal to 3, it says thread C K is equal to 4. And there is a total difference here also. Okay. So what does it mean is that when you have put something in a thread, you don't have control over when the output is going to come. It is completely under the control of operating system when the output should come. Okay. So each time when you run the same program with multiple threads, the output, although it gives the correct output, the output when it displays the output will be different. Okay. Fine. Now, you are running a thread. Let's say I want to stop the thread. How will you stop the thread? Just like you have said start, you also have a function called as stop. Okay. So the stop method will be called whenever you want to stop the thread. Or let's say you want to block the thread. I don't want to end the thread, but you want to put the thread in a waiting state. Suspend the thread. Then there are functions like sleep, suspend, and wait to wait or suspend or sleep the thread. And you can wake the thread up or activate the thread again by resume and notify functions. Okay. So this all are very important functions to in threading, where you can control the execution of the thread. Mostly threading is used in embedded systems where you have multiple tasks to perform, and let's say some thread is stuck or some thread is cannot execute because of any input. Then you put in wait or sleep state, and once the input is got, then you resume the action. For example, let's say you have a microcontroller, and from the microcontroller you are interfacing it with a accelerometer. Now accelerometer will not give any input unless and until you change the gravity or you change the position of the accelerometer. So as long as if you are running a thread in which you are getting the data from the accelerometer, As long as the accelerometer is not giving you data, then that thread will be put in sleep state, because if it is not in sleep state, there is no point in executing it because there is no data. Once the accelerator changes its position, to give an interrupt to the controller, which will wake the thread, comes out using the resume function, and then it will execute. Okay. So initially the thread was in a blocking state, then it went to some state called as runnable, then it has gone into a state called as running. So each and every thread have multiple states of execution, which is coming in the next, which we'll take in the next class because it will take some time to explain what each of these thread life cycle is. Okay, so I think we'll stop it here for today's class. We have some more portion left on threading, multi-threaded programming, which we will do in the next class. Um, and I think by tomorrow I'll be able to finish this module also. There is one small portion called as exception handling in Java, which I think I'll be able to finish by tomorrow. Okay, so let's take the